Hi, and welcome to the Social Angle Podcast. I'm Vinny.
And I'm Patrick.
And on this episode, we're peering into our crystal ball to bring you the social media business trends to be mindful of in 2020.
Which strategies are right from the promo industry? You're about to find out.
Patrick, how's it going today?
I'm doing good, Vinny. I'm doing good.
Are you? You look a little pale. Were you on drinking last night?
Well, it was Tuesday, so no, I was not. Yeah.
I drink on Tuesdays.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? Anyway, so we have a great topic today because every year right around this time, you and I, we get together, we talk about social media, and we talk about the year to come. We put on our Swami hat, and we say, hey, what are going to be the trends that people in our industry should be paying attention to for the next year? So what you and I are going to do here is we're going to pick our top three, and we're each going to discuss one at a time. But also, at the end of the show, I'm going to hit you up with a few social media questions that you have no knowledge of, and you and I are going to kind of answer those.
I'm excited about that part
I know.
because you've given me no hints. None.
No hints. So let's get started. Why don't you start, and I'll follow your lead. So
Perfect. Okay.
So these are in no particular order. You can read what you think is the number one or number two or number. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because
Cool.
I didn't really rank mine.
Okay.
So I think you just read them off. Read the ones that you want. So let's start with one of yours.
Okay. I'm going to start with the last one that I kind of came up with, but so I'll start from the back and
Okay.
Go from there. So my first one is that you're seeing mass exodus from these social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
What you're seeing is people actually are taking much more responsibility in how they're using the platforms, how much time they're spending on them. You can see that in Apple's screen tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they can break down now how much time you're spending on each platform, each app. I personally have seen it drastically affect my own friend group. I get made fun of by my friends because I'm on every single network, right?
Sure.
So I have some groups that are just using Snapchat, like my best friend who has a baby daughter, right? I get snaps of her playing in the playground throughout the day, just like keeping up with their lives. But she likes that platform because it's not out there living a lot, right? But then I have another a group that uses Instagram mainly to send each other funny photos and stuff. And you see social media really evolving in the way that groups are communicating.
Okay.
So it's not so much, hey, I just did this awesome event and let me post about it. It's more of like, hey, which network am I going to be choosing to be on to communicate with my friends?
So which networks do you think people are leaving in mass?
Facebook is getting dumped by a lot of people.
Okay.
I've seen it within my own friend groups, which I really didn't think I would see.
Right.
I saw a couple of my friends, we were organizing we're in a couple like flag football leagues and stuff like that. So the young professionals groups and stuff like that. But a few of them were like, sorry, you can't put me in that Facebook group,
right?
Because I'm not
They're
on
not in
Facebook
there anymore.
Yeah,
right.
and that's becoming a ripple effect.
Okay.
Once one starts, you're like, oh, that's a little weird, and then you're like, well, three other your friends are now off the platform too.
So you're a different generation than me. I don't see that with my friends. I think my friends are sustaining on Facebook. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people are starting to find the networks that they fit in with best, and they're abandoning the ones that they don't.
Exactly.
So that's what you're saying. So it's not really. It's more like platform jumping. Or a
reprioritization, I think, is a better way to put it, because it's not just a mass exodus. Nobody's out here saying, I don't need Facebook, I don't need social media at all.
Right.
It's that, like, I know I need social, but I'm gonna choose my favorite ones and not spend time on anything else.
Right. So you think people are leaving Facebook the most?
Yes, and I think Facebook has the biggest problem in getting new users. So like the younger generations are not getting on Facebook. We saw that with our podcast with Zach Cohn. He said most of his friends aren't even on there. He doesn't even have a profile photo.
Yeah,
so,
he's Gen Z.
Right? I know. Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be a big problem for them in the future. I think they really peaked. But going forward, I'm definitely seeing Instagram growing at a rapid pace. I see LinkedIn getting more entrenched in the daily use for social media because it's going to be such a valuable platform. And I see what they're saying is alternative platforms getting out of nowhere. I mean, TikTok's raised so many new people to social. I mean, it's a crazy avenue.
Sure.
Now, there's some things there's different arguments of whether or not we want to be on that or businesses should be there, but there's going to be all these side companies popping up and really developing.
So other platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other platforms other than Facebook? You said mass exodus from social platforms, and you only really talked about Facebook. You think of any other platforms?
Snapchat's number 2 for sure.
That people are abandoning.
Yeah, big time, especially in my friend group.
Okay.
I mean, and you can see that not only in the views, but also because when you put a story, you can see who views it and everything. Massively dropping down.
Okay.
I mean, and you can also see in the type of content that is being pushed in your feeds.
Okay.
So, for example, Instagram, you can find everything with IGTV and everything. The creators on Snapchat, they're very kind of tabloid-esque kind of shows and stuff that are on Snapchat, but that's kind of the only content you see there, the Discover tab now. So it's more of that pop culture stuff, trying to grab some eyeballs, but it's not like meaty content, right? There's no like real like stuff behind, like oomph behind it. Yeah.
But Snap is not really a platform that is used much in our industry.
No, it's not.
Facebook for sure.
I'm just talking from a user standability or user standpoint, yeah.
Right. What about Twitter?
I think it's always going to be one of those things that sticks around. I think it's one of those ones that you're not going to see lose a lot of steam, but the types of conversations that are being had on that platform will change.
Okay. Now, it's funny because I'm a big Twitter guy, but I did read that they're not growing Twitter as far as the amount of users, but they are they're still getting lots of engagement. I mean, that's that's where the president of the United States spends most of his time, and that
I think that actually kind of helped Twitter though,
in terms of engagement, for sure.
In terms of also being out in the public,
people want to
know social vein of things. You know, I think in a way the president's truly been a very big contributing factor to the success of Twitter over the last few years.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, so your first one that you're mentioning is mass exodus from certain social platforms.
Exactly.
That's a good one. So my first one is, and it's just one word, culture.
Okay.
Culture is something that I've seen start to manifest itself in big brands. A lot of retail brands are really trying to showcase the culture of their companies. And to a lesser extent, but definitely to some extent in our industry, I'm starting to notice companies really taking advantage of social media by showcasing their employees. They're doing profiles. They're doing blog posts about their employees. They're posting on Facebook, on Instagram, and it's really starting to take off. And I think the reason people are doing that, brands are doing that, is it really humanizes their brands. It showcases the people behind that brand. And we've talked about this a lot. You really want to humanize brands, and I think in 2020 there's going to be a huge push by brands to showcase the people that are actually working for the customers on social media. So I mean that's going to be big. I'm already starting to see that, but I think in 2020 and ASI even we're looking to do more of that as well.
Yeah, and I think you'll see that also in the features of different platforms too. I mean, LinkedIn came out with the Life tab situation this year, which is like a section on your LinkedIn company page that is generated just to culture. So yeah, I mean, you can see that in the expanding features out there already.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Your second one.
Okay, my second one doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with yours, but it also is a nice segue, I would say, is the expansion of community on these social media platforms. The one thing that is saving Facebook right now is Facebook groups. It's one of the main things that they've shifted to with their strategic plan to really put at the forefront of what they're building out on the platform. And then also LinkedIn is one that's currently, they've been slower to really bring this to market. They've had LinkedIn groups, and then they kind of became a spam situation, and there was no way of moderating it, and they abandoned it for a bit. Now they're revamping it. They're slowly kind of putting more features, explaining, what they can do with it, and I feel like there should be a major revamp of LinkedIn groups in the future.
Okay.
They just launched out events and stuff.
Right.
They're really doing a lot of things. Their engagement's spiking, so they really have a lot of good things going for them. But groups is the one area though that they haven't zeroed in on and said this is something we can really do yet. So keep that on your outlook.
So communities, groups, any place where people can come and talk among themselves. I think that's really what the emphasis is here, and I 100% agree with that. we have one for ASI called the ASI Members Exclusive Group.
Yep.
And it's really taken off. People are in there engaged in conversation every day.
Yeah.
It's conversation that they can't have on our Facebook page because the way Facebook has traditionally been set up on our pages, it's not right for that sort of engagement where people are talking amongst each other. So the creation of groups, and you're right, this Facebook has evolved big time in the last couple of years to be more of a place where people go to talk to each other. And I know certainly this is a place where people get news. It's also a place where people, they see what's going on with their friends. But from a business perspective, from a prospecting perspective, communities is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's a good one. So your number 2 is more of a social community.
Yeah, and it has to be built into your strategy, right? Like I think that's the part B to that point is that it's not just the fact you'll see more of it, it's the fact that you should be thinking about ways to incorporate it into your digital strategy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, my second one, video. Not just video, because we've talked about, I think this was a hot trend going into 2019 was video. Brands should certainly be doing more video, a more live video. But in 2020, if you're not doing video, if it's not part of your social media strategy plan, you're way behind. And I can't stress this enough that if you're on social media, if you're posting content on any of your social networks, all social networks support video now, you're going to be behind big time. And this is a very product-focused industry. You should be doing product-based videos. You could do live videos. You could do produced videos, simple, and they don't take long. We've talked about this a lot. So the problem with everyone doing video, I think, in 2020 is that there's going to be video saturation.
Exactly. There will be. Yeah.
And so not only do you need to do video, but you have to do it well. And, people who haven't done any of video at all, they're far behind the trend here. You have to get involved. You have to find out the types of videos that are going to work for you, and you have to do it. You just have to do it, and you have to kind of experiment.
Yeah, and that being said, though, there's not that big of a jump into video, right? Like you might be a little bit far behind, but that's not saying that you shouldn't get into it, right?
Right.
The necessity is there to get into it, but the barrier to entry is very low.
No, I agree, especially in this industry. This industry is behind the curve when it comes to most things. Social media is no exception, and video is no exception. The companies that stand out on social media, you and I talk about all the time, are the ones that are doing video.
Yeah.
Because we follow, all the companies in this industry, and when they do video, we notice it.
And it's really, I've seen it in two main categories. I've seen it telling a story, whether it be their brand or a story about a project or anything like that, or their capabilities, right? Like what they can do. That's kind of a niche for the video that I've seen. And then the second is being transparent, right? Inviting people into the conversation, showing them, what you can do in the process there. Those are kind of the two that I've really seen. It really is a great jumping off point for anybody that's trying to incorporate that.
And humanizing your brand, having fun, doing fun things. We've been doing the fun taste testing videos on our Facebook page for a long time, a couple years now. People love them. It has nothing to do about us or the industry. We just go out and we have fun, and it shows people that our culture is fun and engaging. We work hard, but we also try to do as much fun things as possible.
Exactly.
So video is my second. So what is your third?
My third and final one is social customer service. Now, this is one that we've done a podcast on before. It is also something that's been talked about a lot in the last, I think, probably about 2 years, really. It's been up and coming and really been preached about by a few different companies and said this is something you need to incorporate it. It can be talked about as social customer service, social customer care. There's social listening. It can also be included into that conversation. There's a lot to be said with the fact is that your customer is no longer solely relying on the phone to contact you, right? And your customer might be talking about you without even telling you or tagging you, right? So those things combined kind of create this perfect scenario where the social media and the internet has all these different conversations going on. What are you doing to approach that space and say, I need to be part of that conversation, whether or not it's directly at me, if it's something I can talk about or be educated on or help this customer on, how can I interject tactfully myself into that conversation, right? And you need to have a plan for that.
So your social customer service is basically having people on the front lines of social media to answer any questions anyone might have, or find opportunities to get involved in a conversation where somebody might benefit from your products or services, or you can kind of offset some, conversation around, chatter around your brand. So, I mean, that's a great one, and it's certainly, I've read enough about social customer service to know that in 2020, if you have social media presence for a business, you have to have people on the front lines, defending your brand, engaging as your brand, because it's not enough to just post content. You have to get in there and interact with people who may have conversations about it.
Yeah, and that's a great kind of point to piggyback this on, is the fact that each platform has to have its own kind of strategy when it comes to this, right? People are going to expect different response times out of each platform. Twitter is going to be almost immediate or very quickly at the least, right? Like you need to be ready for that. Facebook, you got a little bit more wiggle room. But, when you're going to have a presence out there, what is the process in place for you to really respond?
Right. Perfect. That's a great one. I think people need to be mindful of that. If you have a social media presence, you need to have social customer service in place. All right. My third one is Facebook will continue to suppress page reach and engagement. Now, a year and a half ago, we talked about their newsfeed algorithm tweaks and how they affect organic page reach. And it's been precipitous. The decline has been huge. And I think they just tweaked it again.
Yes, they did. They just tweaked it again.
Yeah, so Facebook is encouraging personal interaction between people. The pages that you set up as a business, they don't want that to be in people's feeds. That to Facebook is noise. Now, the problem with this continued push to suppress pages is that now when you post content as a page, your content was going to get very little reach. So they're kind of pushing, and I'm not saying kind of, they're definitely pushing pages to go to a paid spot here. So it's like pay to play. If you want to post content and you want people to see it, you're going to have to pay for it. And so then I think people are going to have to reevaluate their Facebook strategies, because it's to the point where, almost everything you post needs to be boosted, or you need to put a dollar value to it to get the reach and engagement that you want.
And I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, though, because it's a real opportunity to put money behind the things that matter. And it will also force you to prioritize the different content that you're going to be producing, right? It's no longer push everything out that we've ever created, see what works, and then boost it. It's what has worked in the past. Let's dedicate our time to make something great on this one thing, and then put money behind it to incorporate that in the content strategy.
I like where you're going with that. I agree, but the extremist view on this is, should I even be using Facebook to do that at all? And I think a lot of companies are going to take a look at Facebook in 2020 and say, how is this working for me? Now, earlier in this podcast, we talked about using Facebook differently. You should be using Facebook from a personal perspective if you're a distributor or supplier, and prospecting. Facebook is awesome as a prospecting tool. But for your business page, I don't know, man. Facebook is killing business pages. It really is.
It should just be a business card. It's a digital business card.
Right.
And you know what you got? You got a whole lot more space to make your brand and make your personality, your company's personality stand out.
Right.
And that's how you should be approaching the page, and then making that be the first foundation of your strategy.
Agreed. All right. So I will run down my three real quick. So my number one was culture. Brands have to start promoting their culture. Video. You have to be doing video in 2020. There's no doubt, and you have to be doing it well. And three, Facebook is gonna continue to suppress page reach and engagement. So you really have to evaluate what you're doing on Facebook.
Yeah, and my three are from the top down would be the max exodus from some of these platforms. Realistically, you're going to be seeing your users putting priority on different platforms. So make sure you understand your audience and then cater to them specifically. Number 2 was community. So make sure you're incorporating community and the features on these platforms to create forums or communities around your brand. Make that part of your strategy.
Or use communities.
That's yeah, exactly.
Like, so you don't necessarily have to create one for your business, for your brand. Find the communities.
Yeah, be active in those communities. That's definitely a great point there. And then the third and final one was social customer service. Make sure you have a plan in place to be going out there, finding those conversations, making sure you're responding as the brand, and just making sure you're listening.
Definitely, those are great. So those are 6 from Patrick and I. So now we're going to transition to.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm going to hit you up with a couple of questions that you have no knowledge of, and you answer, and then I'm going to give you my answer. All right. So this is a fill in the blank question.
All right.
The social media platform that all promo products professionals should be on in 2020 is
Instagram.
Okay. Why?
Because it's such a powerful platform. There's a lot of opportunities to do really classy photos, product features. I mean, think about it. If you're a distributor or supplier, you're every single day you'll be working on a project that it should be photogenic, right? There was a quote that we heard in one of the interviews that was like, if you're not designing your product to be photographed, you're doing it wrong. And I think that is a great place to make sure that you have that right mindset.
Right, and it supports video as well. So now look, you and I did a survey at, I think it was ASI Chicago, and we asked all the suppliers and the distributors that we could talk to what network they were on, and everyone said they were on Facebook, but they all loved being on Instagram. They're like, oh, I have to be on Facebook, but we love Instagram.
That's your answer, man. So, right there. That's the tell.
So I struggled with this one. I thought Instagram, but I also thought YouTube, because YouTube is where you should put all of your video, if you have video, and most, I'm hoping a lot of people have video, but because it's a big search engine. So if somebody's looking for, whatever product, they're going to find you if you tag everything correctly. But I cannot go against Facebook right now. Facebook, not for what we talked about earlier, not for the pages, but as a prospecting tool. Everybody should be on Facebook.
Okay. Different use,
different
approach, but okay. Yeah. All right.
And until I see a transition where people are not networking on Facebook and doing actual deals on Facebook, like we talked to a guy last week who is selling in our group. He's actively selling. And it's all through Facebook groups. And I still think it's a very, very powerful tool. All right. True or false? TikTok is a social network our industry should be looking into using in 2020.
That's the fastest false I've ever given.
Yes.
Here's why. It's because now if you're really creative, you got a department that's ready to go and make a whole lot of different kind of like experimental content. Sure. Try it. Let me know what you come up with. I want to see what you do.
Sure.
That being said, for the usual company out there, even us, it doesn't need to just be distributor, supplier, or decorator, or whoever, even us. I would not recommend a strategy for TikTok right now because, first of all, the audience on that platform scales drastically young.
Way too young.
And we're not talking about, Gen Z is 40% of the buying power in the industry of 2020, right? That's the stat everyone throws around. They're also not the people that are going to be buying the shirts, right? They're not the people that are going to be in that conversation in the boardroom saying, let's go do promotional products for this next strategy. They're not the ones having that conversation. So why would you dedicate the money behind that to produce that content? Now, I will say, if you do happen to come up with a cool strategy or creative plan for TikTok, it's a very easy transition to use that on Instagram. So those are the two pairing networks that are kind of growing at a rapid pace together. But TikTok alone, no, false.
Wow, you're passionate.
I get heated, man. It's like, look, like, don't.
It's almost as if you knew that question was coming. I agree with you. TikTok is just the user base is way too young. A couple years ago, we experimented with Snap. Way too young. Our audience or the promotional products industry, they're on Facebook. They are on Instagram. To a lesser extent, they're on Twitter. They're on LinkedIn as well. They're not on They're not on TikTok. They're just not.
I
You could be
will-
wasting your time there.
You would be wasting your time, but if there's one thing to look out for on TikTok, it is the hashtag ad campaigns. They're genius. It's the one thing TikTok has going for them. It's a company that comes in and sponsors a specific hashtag, and they do, user-generated content awards and stuff like that. That's the one thing to look for that
Okay.
content or on that platform, but it's not our space yet. It's just not.
We'll revisit this in a year.
Yeah.
We'll see what TikTok's got going for 2021. All right. Social commerce, which is the selling products directly from your social platforms, will be a factor in 2020. Agree or disagree?
Can I get a further clarification on this one? Like, do you mean
Selling directly like a storefront from your
like
social media.
Instagram, Facebook
Sure,
pages?
right.
I think it's going to be more of an incorporation in people's
Mm-hmm.
strategies. I think you're going to see it more like just some of these big guys are probably going to be
Sure.
incorporating it. I don't see it as something that's going to be a driving force for sales though in 2020.
I agree. I think that this is down the road.
Yeah.
I think it's something that people should be mindful of into the distant future. It's not going to be something that people should be, worrying about in 2020.
I will say though, I think it would be cool if you see that incorporated with company stores as well as like event-based
Sure.
marketing. That's where I see it really kind of having this bubble that could expand. Because if I'm a distributor, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to sponsor this event. I mean, the company store is still one thing, but if
Right.
you have that transferred over to your social accounts, there's a little bit more power behind that conversation then. Yeah.
And I think this industry, because it's so heavily product-based, it's perfect for this type of social commerce. We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
So I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve there. Again, maybe we'll revisit this one next year. All right, true or false? Promo companies should be investing in podcasts. They're not really social media per se, but they kind of are.
You saw my face like
Yeah.
kind of crumple up there. I don't know because I think yes they should be because if you have something good to say, you should be on record saying it, and it's also great for your content marketing because it can be reproduced in a
Sure.
bunch of different avenues. You can do it for video, the audio clips, all that kind of
And
stuff.
you can push it out everywhere, SoundCloud, Spotify, everywhere.
Yeah, I
Stitcher.
think what got me was when you said investing, it was like sponsoring podcasts.
No,
And-
investing
and
meaning like should they spend the money to do them, the time, the effort.
I think it's worth it if you have somebody that's comfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you necessarily need to like strong arm somebody in your company to get on the mic.
Right.
But I think it's definitely a great way to say, hey, this company doesn't just have one or two people that know what they're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. We have a great staff. Let's have a conversation about what's happening in the world. Let's have a conversation about what these trends are,
Mm-hmm.
and we invite you in. If you have any questions, let us know. And I think that's a better approach to podcasts than
Right.
it is just saying, let's hit record and
Right.
and go.
I think, my personal opinion, I think people in this industry should be doing it because right now, not many people are doing it.
Yeah.
Like I look around and there's only a handful of people who are doing podcasts. And I think it's ripe for us to get new people in there. You guys know what you're doing. Find a topic that you want to talk about and invest in podcasting. It's really not that much to do.
One of the other things though, that I'd like to put onto this is a different perspective. If you're somebody that's trying to come up in the industry, if you're somebody that's new to the industry, if you're somebody that is trying to make a more personal brand of yourself, I think podcasts would be an amazing place to start for you in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the field, look at who's out there, look at the people that are really creating this content, and then approach them and say, hey, I'm really knowledgeable at XYZ.
Right.
I'd love to come on and talk about it. Is that something you're interested in? I mean, we'd be willing to talk to
Sure.
somebody about that. Yeah, you can shoot us a message and let us know. But I mean, that's how you kind of build your personal brand, and podcasts are always looking for guests, and it's something that I'd recommend in 2020 if you're trying to do that.
Right. So if you do a lot of social media and you think you do it well and you want to talk about something, we would love to have you on the show. I guess that's where you're going with that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yep. All right. My final question, and it has nothing to do with social media or the promotional product
Okay,
industry.
all right.
I just figured this will be a good close. So since we're looking into 2020 and we've got, we've got our Swami hats on here, let's talk about who do you think is going to be the winner of Super Bowl 54?
Ooh,
We're going to end the podcast with this final question.
look. All right. Patriots, I can't vote for them, man. I can't do it. They've won too many, so I'm going to go with the 49ers.
You know what? It's so funny you say that because I was thinking about this question this morning as I was writing this up, and I said the 49ers would be a fashionable pick because they're undefeated right now. But you know what? I've picked against New England every year. Every time they get in the Super Bowl, I'm like, they're not going to win. Because I'm a Jets fan. I have to hate them.
Yeah.
They're just too good, man.
They're too good. You see Usain Bolt said he'd come to the NFL if he was playing for the Patriots?
Of course he would.
Could you imagine?
You and I could play for the Patriots and probably, score a couple touchdowns. Yeah. I don't know. So I'm going to go with the Patriots. You're going with the 49ers.
Okay.
Something we can revisit next February to see who was right and who was wrong.
Yep.
I have a feeling I'm going to be right. But anyway, that's it for us. We hope you guys learned a lot here. So, of course, if you have any questions, you can message me on Twitter at ASI Central.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at pkennedy_ASI.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on The Social Angle.